All right. I want to welcome each one of you to our Leader Lowdown. As many of you know, the first Wednesday of every month, we have a special guest. And I'm so thrilled today to be here with the master himself, Woody Woodward. I met Woody, gosh, it's been, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago in Florida at a Robsberry event. And I have to say, I was so impressed by your kindness. I loved your wife. And boy, you have got some stories, Woody. I just want to take a minute before I turn it all over to you. And I want to welcome everybody that's out there. And in fact, if you're tuning in today, I would love for you to drop where are you tuning in from? Let's just find out where a few of you are tuning in from as we get this rolling. I'm so excited today. Like I said, we've got Woody here. He's going to be talking about his book, Drive Sales. I actually happen to have it right here. I myself could not wait to get my hands on your book, and I can't wait for you to just really explain a little bit more about Drive Sales and how people really truly can have massive increases in sales by understanding the personality of their buyer. And of course, I'm going to let Woody share all of that. So as I see some of the places, look at that. We've got people coming in from all over the world. Many of you know we also like to draw and ignite the light card. So Woody, before we draw a card, I'm going to just sit here and shuffle a minute. Why don't you tell the crowd a little bit about you and how Drive came to be?
Joan, thank you so much. What an honor it is to be here. I'm so grateful. It's fascinating. You mentioned my wife. My wife changed my world more than any other human being ever has.
Of
And
course she did.
let's be honest, let's just call it what it is. Yes, we don't live without our women. So years and years ago, she said, "I need you to read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People." Now, in the personal
Oh,
development
so
space, it's a
pretty.
classic, right? There was one quote in that book that literally triggered the development of drive. Second chapter, first page, lower left hand corner. The deepest urge in human nature is the desire to feel important. And I thought, there's no way that's true. I don't want to feel important. So I went out to prove this guy wrong. He's been dead for 56 years, but in my mind, I got to go prove him wrong. And in the process of trying to prove him wrong, I actually proved him right. And then have written 42 books since then and developed Drive and helping people understand what drives them, motivates them, moves them. And we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I can't even imagine 42 books under your belt. My gosh, obviously you've got something to say, and we've got people that are so incredibly hungry to learn. I think I was just talking to a coaching client, and right now, and Woody, I bet you would agree with me at some level, we've got a similar situation going on in the world to what happened really in 2008, 2009. And I look back at my team and I remember being a leader of a very large team and, you know, not really at a loss of what to do, but looking at, okay, what can we do? What are our superpowers? What are our secret sauces? How can we be different from the next, network marketer? How can we be a standout team overall? And one of the things that we did was, we started a campaign where I came up with something called the Savvy Pro Close. And I taught every team member to close every customer sale, every business opportunity sale in the same way. And, our team moved into the number one team within the company because it started with one leader, it spread out to all the leaders, and everybody embraced this. And when I was thinking of who I wanted to interview and what are some of those special things and secret sauces, this came right to mind because this is something that when people figure it out, I mean, right here on your cover, 400% increase in sales, I think it's something that people really need to hone in on right now. What about you?
You're spot on, and it's interesting you bring up 2008. So I had been very successful at a young age, lost it all, made it back, and then it was challenged again in 2008. So
Right.
I had lost my house, my cars, foreclosure, the whole bit. Though I was at that time, loaded but leveraged. And
Yeah.
so the dominoes came falling down, and I'd already developed drive. And so I thought, okay, I need to tap into my own drive to recover from this. So what I love the most about drive is, yes, we're going to talk about cells, but it's about you. If you can get on dry ground, you can save other people who are drowning. But if you're drowning and you're dying, you can't serve other people. And to me, sales is service. If I love you, care about you, and worried about your well-being, then I'm going to share my message with you. And that's the whole point of what drive is learning what motivates you, inspires you, and then also what motivates and inspires others to do the same.
Oh, well, you know what? As you were talking, right? I'm doing a little bit of energy work on the side, and I end up a card pops out. And guess what it was? You ready?
Well,
Out
let's
of
see it.
all these cards, and you just talked about it, I take good care of me.
Whoa.
Hello. I mean, here's the deal is you just said, if I can't get on dry land, how can I save those people that are drowning? And this is really an appropriate card because I couldn't agree with you more. And I had to learn this lesson in a really kind of, I would say, pretty bold way because I've had those moments. But I think it's so important for people to hear that as leaders, as people that are entrepreneurs and business owners, it's not selfish to take good care of yourself. It's actually, in my opinion, it's selfless because if I'm not in a good place, and it's just what you're saying, I can't take good care of me. So this card says, today I will choose healthy habits that refuel me. I'll eat good foods that replenish my body. I'll exercise to de stress and get my endorphins flowing, and I'll practice my spiritual connection. Today, I'll pause and pray, God, help me refuel my body spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Thank you. Flip the switch from self sabotage to feeling a little better each day. What is one thing I'll do to take good care of me today? So,
Oh,
what
you could have
do
picked a better card. That's
I,
exactly what we're teaching today is how to be
I know,
self-aware and not selfish. So
right?
beautiful, beautiful.
And I love it. So, really, what I want to do, Woody, is I'd love for you to tell people a little bit about the training that we're going to do. And then maybe at the end, I might ask you a few different questions. I don't want to interrupt because I know you've got slides and an incredible training. And I want to just be able to really allow the crowd out there. So, those of you that now is a great time to grab your pen and paper, we're going to take some notes and um, I'll prompt you guys as a group during certain things that Woody's talking about. And Woody, I'd love to just turn it over to you. You ready?
Let's do it. And
Okay.
I'm not going to give them any heads up of what's coming. I
Okay.
believe that the self-discovery and the mystery itself is what makes life beautiful.
I love
So I'm going to jump straight in. Can you see the sign?
it. Okay.
Does it say predictability of cells?
There we go. How's that? All right.
Yeah,
We're here.
beautiful. Let's just start and have fun.
All
So what
right.
I want you to do is pick a number between 1 and 10. Any number between 1 and 10.
Okay. I'm going to pick
No,
9.
don't say it out loud. Don't say it out loud.
Oh, okay. I'll pick another. Okay.
Yeah, everyone just pick a number between 1 and 10.
Okay.
Now that
Gotcha.
you have that number, double that number. And don't say what it is, just double it in your head. We're going to do some simple math. So you pick a number between 1 and 10, double that number. Now add 6 to that number. Okay, now divide that number in half.
uh,
Okay. Subtract the original number you chose between 1 and 10. Now, on the count of 2, say your number. 1, 2, 3.
8.
If
3.
if you did the math right, every single person would be at 3.
Oh,
It's
really?
simple. Yeah, it's, honestly. Okay, just for fun, let's go back. Give me your original number.
Okay. I had 9.
9. Okay, so 9 it is. Double that number is 18.
Right.
Add 6 to that number is 24.
Right.
Half that number is 12. Subtract your original number of 9 is 3.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I see where I went wrong. I did. Yeah. All
So
right. I divided wrong.
here's what's fascinating. Everybody on this call just got the number 3. So
Wow.
it's learning how to stack the sales odds in your favor. It's nothing more than a math equation. It's nothing more than a magic trick, but it works every single time. It's no different than understanding what drives human behavior. When we totally understand what drives people, we get the exact same results every time. So years ago, two friends were out on this country road. A friend pulled over Walter and Arthur, and Walter turned to Arthur and said, "I bought this land. It's 60 plus acres. I want you to buy all the surrounding land because it's going to double in value in the next year." Now, Walter and Arthur had been best friends for decades. And he looks around. Arthur looks around and says, "Are you crazy? We're out in the middle of nowhere. Like there's jackrabbits. We're miles from a freeway. Why would anybody come out here?" He said, "Hey, I have risked everything." Walter just kept, and we've all done this in sales. No, you got to get involved. It's amazing. It's going to explode. And then Arthur gave every excuse he could possibly come up with. Look, time's not good. Money's not good. I got to talk to my wife. And Walter said, "You don't have enough time. In 1 year, all this is going to double, maybe even quadruple in value." Well, 1 year later, Walt Disney opened up Disneyland, and his best friend, Art Linkletter, had the rights to buy all the surrounding property, and he missed that opportunity. Now, whose fault is it that he missed the opportunity? You can argue that, yes, it's Art's fault because it's personal responsibility. He should have seen the opportunity. I believe it's Walt's fault. Walt did not convey to Art the importance and did not speak in the language that Art represented himself with. Now, interesting enough, a family from Japan saw the opportunity, bought 55 acres surrounding Disneyland. For I think it was right around $1,800 or $2,300. And this is in 1954. In 1999, they sold it back to the Disney Corporation for just under $100 million. So I am obsessed with what drives human behavior. Like what makes us decide the things that we decide? What changes the way our views of the world? Through this obsession of what drives us, that's where I've written the 42 books. I've done 3 movies, 3 infomercials, spoken on stages around the world, just truly trying to identify what is it that thing. And goes back to what I mentioned earlier, Joan, about in the quote from How to Win, not How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
The deepest urge in human nature is the desire to feel important. So I have personally interviewed 2 to 3,000 people. Our websites have interviewed tens of thousands of people, and everybody has 7 key characteristics that makes them feel important. Now, what makes you feel important is different than what's important to you. So work and family can be important to you, but work and family may not make you feel important. Doesn't mean you don't love your work, doesn't mean you don't love your children, your spouse, your friends. It's that feeling of just connecting to who you really are. So I've developed what's called the D.R.I.V.E system. What I want you to do is read all of these words first, then go through again and read them and identify which card, the D, the R, the I, the V, the E, has the most amount of words on it that makes you feel important. Now I'm going to pause for 4 minutes. I'm not going to say anything. I don't want you to have any distractions. Just read all the cards and then read them again and choose the card that has the most amount of words on it that makes you feel important. Now,
Okay.
once again, what makes you feel important is different than what's important to you. So what's important to you is your opinions and those things that say, "Oh, this is really important to me." You'll die on that hill. A feeling of importance is where you really feel connected to your inner source, yourself, that higher level of "I feel on top of the world." That's defined as a feeling of importance. So I'm going to pause for the next 4 minutes. Go ahead, read all the cards, and just put them in order of what makes you feel important. If you get stuck between 2 cards, like, "What, I can't decide between the D and the E or the R and the I," Ask yourself, which one could you not live without? Subconsciously, your mind will answer it immediately and it'll put that one at the forefront. So write that one down as the one that makes you feel the most important. And then just keep on going down the line. Once again, if you get stuck between two of them, ask yourself, which one could you not live without? Your subconscious mind will immediately answer it. That's the one that's defined as what makes you feel important, not what's important to you. We'll give about another minute.
Okay.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. If you still need more time, take a screenshot of this. You want to make sure you write down those initials, the D, the R, the I, the V, the E. And it's always based on what makes you feel important, not what is important to you. So, Joan, do you have yours?
I do.
Okay, perfect. In a second, I'll ask you for yours. Okay, so for everyone else who's playing along, if you need more time and you're watching this on a preview, pause it or take a screenshot and you can go through it a little bit later. But let's jump into it. And the fun thing is the rest of this is going to be really interactive. So if you chose D, in fact, I'll ask you now, Joan, what was your initials?
I chose E.
E for your first. Perfect. Okay. So if you're a D, you're a director. Directors are motivated by a lifestyle. They want to be free and adventurous. They're creative and passionate and very purpose driven. I am a D. I'm a director.
By the way, that was my
Yes.
originally that was my first one. And then I kind of went like, well, because I remembered I had to go to what makes me
Yes.
feel
Yes.
important, not what's important to me.
Yes. Thank you.
Got it.
Gotcha. And then if you chose the R, that is relator. That's all about community, motivated by relationship focus, service minded, compassionate, and giving. If you chose the I, that's intellectual. That's all about systems, intellectually curious, knowledge driven, task oriented. If you chose V, V is for validator. That's all about respect and trust, self acceptance, and being a team motivator. And E, like Joan, is executive. It's all about proof. It's the show me the money, motivated by winning and control, goal oriented, and results driven. So, Joan, for you, is that a fair synopsis?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, perfect. Now we're going to go even deeper. When I go to your drive, I want you to close your eyes. So if you chose D, director, go ahead and close your eyes. And I want you just to listen to this one paragraph. Think about your relationships, your personal life, your business, how you show up, and see if this resonates with you. So if you're a director, they enjoy a good challenge and love to feel free and independent. They thrive on being creative, discovering new things, and experiencing life. They are great in social settings, putting together a variety of people and making something happen. They find joy in overcoming obstacles and making a difference in the world. If you are a relator, go ahead and close your eyes. Directors, go ahead and open your eyes. But for relators, close your eyes. They they know how to build strong, long-term, healthy relationships. In the workplace, their strength is in networking and building other people up to a higher level of productivity. They garner energy and security through their relationships. They are loyal to their friends and are service-minded. So as I read these, if this represents you, you really recognize it in your own life, go ahead, yes, in the comments.
Yeah.
If you're intellectual, it's all about being stimulated intellectually, either through books, speeches, research, conversations, or organization. Success comes when they accomplish a task, would rather be learning something new than just lying around. They are driven to understand and be more knowledgeable. They like to share what they know with others. So go ahead and open your eyes. If that represents you, hit a yes in the comments. For our validators, go ahead and close your eyes. They enjoy intimate small groups of people where they're being validated. Often, they are wonderful at giving validation to others. Their confidence stems from the strength of their relationships. If they feel they are in a healthy, caring, and trusted relationship, they feel strong, secure, and loved. Go ahead and open your eyes, validators. If that represents you, hit a yes in the comment. Executives, Joan, go ahead and close your eyes. They are productive and thrive on getting the job done, task-oriented and focused on getting results. They do not like small talk and would prefer tackling a project rather than sitting around and wasting time. They are happiest when they are pursuing or achieving a desired goal. Go ahead and open your eyes. Joan, does that represent you?
Yeah, you know what? I think actually I might still be more the director,
Gotcha.
The director D, but I think what I recognize when you read those, and maybe this is true for a lot of people, is I've got a couple things in all of them that make me feel important technically. Um, and as you read that, I think the director is more who I am, but some of the different things make me feel important, even if it's not as important to me. So
Correct. Okay. So
it's kind
you're what we
of a
in
thing.
this training, I'm not going to go into what's called primary and secondary drives, but we
Yeah.
all have a primary and secondary drive. So I'll just do a quick segue really quick. So
Okay.
you're what's called a director executive, meaning you're motivated. Think of it like a car and the gas. The car is your primary drive, the first one you chose. So let's say you're a director. The gas you put in that car to give you that lifestyle you want to be free and independent, to
Okay.
be creative, is your secondary drive, which is the fuel. So the executive, the proof, the winning, the control, setting goals helps you live the lifestyle you want to live. Is that more accurate?
Yes, that's
Okay,
true.
so it's funny because you and I have connected years ago. I am a director executive as well. So it's
Okay.
easy to be friends with people who have your same drive. It's just instantly, simultaneously easy. So you have
Yeah.
a primary and secondary drive. The primary drive is the car, that's the direction you're heading in your life. The fuel to make that car move is your secondary. Now, that's the only time I'm going to talk about primary and secondary on this call, but I'm
Yeah.
happy to come back and do a future training on it.
Okay. I like it.
Okay, so let's take drive and let's go deep into Shark Tank. You know, as entrepreneurs, as salespeople, we've all watched the Shark Tank. We're engaged by them and what they do. So if you break down each of the sharks, you'll notice a very distinct drive. So Robert, he's all about lifestyle. It's his cars, his house, his plane. He was on Dancing with the Stars, ended up marrying the woman from Dancing with the Stars. You've got Lori. She's the relator. She's all about the community. On Shark Tank, if anyone breaks down crying, she'll say, you know what? I'll take you. I don't care about your product, but I believe in you. Let's get you results. Then you've got Damon John, who's the intellectual. He's the first one to ask, is it patented? Is it copyrighted? Where's your manufacturing? He's looking for that system. Then Mark Cuban is the validator. He's all about admiration, giving and receiving. He's that team cheerleader, always lifting people up. And then you got Kevin O'Leary. He is Mr. Wonderful. Show me the money. Like he'll say the craziest comments to people. If money's like little soldiers who go out attack at night and bring back more money. And if you don't have your numbers, you're no good to me. Like he's just all about the results. So when you look at it, directors are motivated by lifestyle, relators are motivated by community, intellectuals are motivated by systems, validators are motivated by admiration, and executives want proof. Now, this is the buying style of each and every one of us. So as a director, I buy based off spontaneity. If I like something, I see something, I want it, it's going to enhance my lifestyle, I'm all in.
Yeah.
So when I go through Drive, this is what we call the 20-80 rule, that you lose 80% of your sales based on your drive. So look at your 5 fingers. Each one of them is an individual drive. You speak one of them, but you accidentally alienate the other 4. If you learn to speak those other 4 language, that's where you have the potential to increase your sales by 400%. And I'll break you down how this works. So Walt Disney, he's a director. It's all about lifestyle. If you've been to Disneyland, Disney World, or Paris Disney, all of them are built the same way, where it's a wheel with a hub in the center, which is the castle, and it spokes out to all these different lands. Tomorrowland, Frontierland. It's always about lifestyle. He wants you to come to Disneyland. Even Epcot was built just as an experimental city. But you take his best friend, Art Linkletter, he was a validator. He owned his own TV shows, his own radio shows. Buying that land around Disneyland didn't meet his drive. Therefore, he wasn't willing to buy it.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
when we're talking to people, and you can have the absolute best product, the best messaging, the best website, best logo, best comp plan, all of that it doesn't matter. If you aren't speaking their drive, none of that matters.
Mm-hmm.
So the 20-80 rule, we have a single drive, and inadvertently and accidentally, we think everyone else is the same as us. So as we're selling based on our drive, we're alienating everyone else. So years ago, I got called in to do a sales training at one of the largest car dealerships in the Western United States. I'm sitting in there, I'm in their training room, I'm looking around, and you guys have all seen this before. You got all the quotes that are on the wall. And I noticed every single quote was the same, and every single quote was the exact same drive. So I took pictures of them. I'm going to read them to you, and I just want you to think, and if you want, you can throw in the comments. I want you to think about this drive. Here are the quotes. A winner is someone who sets their goals, commits themselves to those goals, and then pursues their goals with all the ability given them. Some of us will do our jobs well, some will not, but we'll be judged by one thing, the results. It's hard to fail, but it's even worse to have never tried to succeed. The biggest human temptation is to settle for too little. Winning is not a sometime thing, it's an all the time thing. The difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but rather a lack of will. So, for fun, if you want to play along, throw in the comments. Which drive is it? It's executive. It's all about winning. It's all about goals, overcoming, going for it. Well, here's the problem. If that's in the training room and the trainer is sharing that drive message all about executives winning, 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 and you've got all the other 4 drives in the room as salespeople, when they go out to sell, they're not going to sell well because they're not they're not executives. And so this is exactly why they have the highest turnover rate. It's no different than the network marketing industry. The top leaders have a dominant drive. So Joan is one of the top leaders. She is a director executive. Unbeknownst to her, she's going to be sharing the director executive message her whole training. It's going to resonate with a portion of people and not resonate with other people. So the whole point of learning drive is figuring out what motivates each person, then speaking their language. Companies do this all the time. Patek Philippe is one of the largest high-end watch companies. Their watches are like 100 grand a piece. But their entire ad is this. You never actually own a Patek Philippe. You merely look after it for the next generation. So as I went through the research on this, they're a family-ran business. In fact, all their marketing is about a relator. The father, son, the great-grandfather who bought the company 4 generations back, family values. All their messaging is for relators. Now, I love a high-end watch, but I'm not going to buy a watch because the ad said, well, you never own it. It's for your your posterity.
Leg
Well, I'm
is
not going to spend. Yeah, I'm not going to spend $100,000 for my grandsons.
yeah.
I don't care about them that much.
Yeah.
And we do this all the time. We're always speaking our drive and not paying attention to everyone else's. So let's look at the 20/80 rule in Shark Tank. There's that old adage that, put your money where your mouth is. So people put their time where their drive is, their money where their drive is, their buying power where their drive is. And the sharks are no different. So you've got Robert, he's a director. So he's been pitched 51 times, but he's only been closed 11% because he's all about lifestyle. So he put his money, $5 million, into Zero Pollution Motors, which is this little AirPod car that drives around. So he's willing to spend $5 million to defend his drive. You got Lori. She's been pitched 311 times, only closed 20%. Her largest investment was 600 grand into Ruffle Butts. And I had to Google that. I was afraid of what I was going to get. It's a kid's clothing line. She owns 9% of the business. And as a relator, it's always about community and the future generation. So she puts her largest investment into kids. Damon John has only been closed 15% of the time. His largest investment was into Hell's Bells helmets, which to me is the most boring investment you can make. But to him, the systems of building a helmet to save the brain, DOT, government approval, all those like hoops you got to jump through, to him, that meets his drive. He wants to do it. Mark Cuban, I put this in green. He's been closed the most amount, but he's done the second to least amount of pitches. So why would someone who's only been pitched second to least, why would he have done the most deals? Because as a validator, he's the team player. Validators are phenomenal at giving validation to others. So he's going to help people along the way. But his largest deal was $2 million into 1031 Productions. Didn't know what that was. Googled it. It's a party company. So to be the life of the party as a validator, he bought a party company. And then who's actually been pitched the most amount of times, but closed the least amount. Because as an executive, he needs proof. So he won't spend his money unless there is proof. So his largest investment was in Zips, which is the company that has the individual wine glasses that you pull off the top, have a sip. So when you think of what's the most profitable industry in the world, it's got to be liquor and spirits. So that's where he's willing to put his money because that's the most secure, proof-driven type of product. So has anyone ever closed all the sharks at once? It took 5 seasons for this to happen. So Charles Michael Yim, season 5, episode 2. You can watch this episode on YouTube. He went in there asking for 250 grand for 10% of his company. Now, not a very sexy product. Breathometer, you plug it in your phone, you blow into it, tells you whether or not you're intoxicated. It'll order you an Uber, a taxi, or a Lyft. So kind of a needed product for bars, but not a sexy, fun product. However, when he was answering all the questions of the individual sharks, unbeknownst to him, he didn't know D.R.I.V.E, he was answering based on their drive. And I sat there and watched this episode. I was like, oh my gosh, he's absolutely getting a deal for sure. Something happened that had never happened before. They started bidding each other up and they actually kicked him out of the room. And Kevin, the executive proof personality, said, hey, you know what? Let's not give him any more money than we need to. We all want in. Let's divide this way. And so they do this thing. Mark wanted half. So Mark got half and the rest took a different share. But here's what happened. He walked in asking for $250,000. He ended up walking out with $1 million, a 400% increase because he spoke to each and every one of their drives. So the 20/80 rule, as soon as you learn to speak to other drives, you have a 100% possibility of increasing your sales, or basically a 400% increase in sales communications.
Isn't this is so good?
Do you have any questions, Joan, right here?
Yeah, as I'm thinking, what I would love to ask you is how, from a network marketing, perspective, would you encourage people to find out rather quickly what people's drive really is? How are they going to do that, Woody, if they don't have the book quite yet or the cards, which, by the way, I just love these. I pulled these out. I got these cards from Woody at an event. So how would they do that?
Great question. There's 3 questions you can ask somebody. I call it the conversation close. The first question is, other than work and family, what are you most passionate about? Other than work and family, what are you most passionate about? Here's why we say other than work and family. So, a Gallup poll did a study and found that 70+% of people don't like their jobs. So if you say, oh, what do you do for work? And this always happens in networking, but oh, what do you do? Now 70% of people instantly don't like you. So don't ever ask somebody, what do they do? Then we know the divorce rate's hovering around 50% for the last 50 years. Don't ask someone whether they're married or have kids. Just leave that off the table. So the question is, other than work and family, what are you most passionate about? Now, if they are passionate about their work as an executive or a director, or if they're passionate about their family as a relator or a validator, then now you have permission to talk to them about that. But so I just make it as universal as possible. Other than work and family, what are you most passionate about? Now, the second question is to gauge that answer. So I'm going to ask you really quick, Joan, other than work and family, what are you most passionate about?
Other than work and family, I am most passionate about helping people. And that's really kind of on all levels. Like it just fills my cup to help somebody. Even if I see someone at the grocery store looking for something, I kind of feel like, oh, I want to help out that person. Or yeah, I think that would be probably, and helping them overcome a challenge, helping them, get unstuck, those kinds of things, helping them also probably, you know, draw out of them what's most important to them.
Perfect. Okay. So now the second question is, when you aren't able to help people overcome their challenges, how does it impact you?
Oh, I can help them every single time. No, just teasing.
So
Um,
when
well,
you
yeah,
can't, how does it
yeah,
impact you?
yeah. So if I can't help them, it probably it depends on what it is. If I can help them because they're not taking action, meaning I've given them some tools and they understand the tool or the idea because they've wanted it, but maybe they didn't take action, that I can let go. But if I just can't seem to help someone because I'm not sure what to do, that makes me feel like like I just well, it makes me feel like I need to help them find someone else. So I don't know if that
No,
makes sense.
that's no, it totally makes sense. Okay, third question.
Yep.
When you are able to help somebody and you're able to change their life, how does that make you feel?
That's probably why I do what I do. So it's like the best ever, right?
Okay,
And
spot on.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so let's break this down. First question, other than work and family, what are you most passionate about? So the passion is equal to the drive. So you said helping people. Now I'm always going to do a follow-up question. What is it about helping people? Because if I went with just helping people, I'm going to think, oh, she's a relator. But as you went into like it's helping them overcome a challenge, helping them find a solution. That is definitely director executive
Yeah.
right there. The second question, when you aren't able to and you insert their passion, how does it impact you? We're looking for a negative. And you're like, yeah, it's hard. Like I got to find a way. Like it really bothers me. Like I got to find this. If they say, oh, nothing doesn't impact me at all, then we don't have their passion. Go deeper.
Yeah.
Then the third question, it's kind of like how math subtraction is proven by addition and subtract. So the third question is, when you are able to, how does it make you feel? And you're like, oh, on top of the world, I feel fantastic. Now we know we have your drive. So without knowing the drive, if we hit that point of their true heartfelt passion that is going to equal their drive, now we can move forward and it's fantastic. And all that in the book that you have is in chapter 7.
And I was just looking here, Woody. This is interesting because I look where I am. I just had this open chapter 7. But what I was going to say is I recognize when you're explaining this stuff, I recognize like where was it that I became passionate about helping people? Like where, how old was I? When was this going on? And I remember when I used to work for my grandpa at his store, I just watched, like, how do we learn? We learn by going, like as a kid, like, this is gray. This is a gray cup, right? And I remember my grandpa sharing with me, you know, basically every Saturday, I go get my friends and customers donuts at the local bakery. We lived in a small town outside of Seattle. And
Oh, wait,
that was
hold on. What small town? I'm from Seattle. What small town?
oh, I lived over across Bainbridge Island, Paulsbo area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I grew up in Everett.
Oh, okay. There we go. Yeah. So I grew up in right in Paulsbo, Bainbridge Island, Silverdale area, all that Kitsap Peninsula. And my grandpa would go to Sly's Bakery, which is kind of like a famous bakery there, and grab these donuts. And when I was just like a little fourth grader, he told me, here's your money, and here's how you're going to go pick out the donuts for the people. And I remember just wanting to help them and get the right donut, and even getting my grandpa the maple bar because I knew he liked it. Right. But it's interesting because then I remember when I lived in Mexico when I was in my young 20s, I would always want to help people like go to the best restaurants and you got to visit this. And because I also like that like adventure and I want people to experience fun things. So it's interesting how this kind of, as you're talking, it's causing me to think. And
So let's
is the drive something that's in people's nature? Are we kind of made up this way? Would it be fair to say?
Okay, so this is a fun segue. We're gonna go on. This is what I love about these live calls is I got PowerPoints. I don't care if I deliver them. I just want to go where the discussion goes. So your drive, in fact, I'll break down some principles. There's 5 principles in drive. Principle 1, when your drive is fully engaged, you have a peak emotional state. So when your drive is being met, your primary and secondary drive, you feel on top of the world. That's principle 1. Principle 2, when your drive is being violated or offended, you have a negative emotional state. You feel tired, exhausted, frustrated. We've all experienced this. You're driving down the road, you get a text, phone call, email, and the contract fell through. Someone bailed on your company, and emotionally you crash. I'm obsessed with why. Why does this happen? That's principle 1 and 2. Think of it as your emotional elevator. Up is your drive being met. What takes you down is your drive being offended.
Beautiful.
And the point of all my training is learning to validate your drive from the inside out, being self aware, not selfish. When we're externally motivated, looking to other people, places, or things, we are totally at their whim. So think about the car analogy. If you're looking at someone else to propel your car forward, putting gas in your tank, you're inevitably going to run out. But if you fuel up by yourself all the time, internal motivation, you're unlimited. You can go forever. So that's principle 1 and 2. Principle 3 is the most important one, and it ties 100% to sales. Subconsciously or consciously, you'll do anything within your belief system to defend and support your drive. I'll say that again. Subconsciously or consciously, you'll do anything within your belief system to defend and support your drive. So this is when it comes to personal development, this is why we do what we do. It's our emotional compass. I'm going to do anything to get my drive met. Joan, you're doing the same. Bob, Steve, Tom, Ken, doesn't matter. We're all doing that every day. So in the sales process, that's the 20-80 rule. We're speaking our drive every day, thinking this is what everyone wants to hear. They don't. They're doing everything to defend and support their drive.
Yeah. Okay.
So the reason we buy the things we do or talk to people in a grocery store, it's to defend your drive. And if they don't support your drive, principle 2 happens, you crash emotionally, like, I'm trying to help them. Why won't they let me help them? Has nothing to do with you. It's them defending and supporting their drive. In the sales process, if someone says no to you, has nothing to do with you. It has to do with their drive. So it takes the the ego out of sales, but it also takes the failure out of sales. So if I'm not selling properly, all I have to do is remember the Walt Disney and Art Linkletter story. I didn't touch his or her drive, because the second I do touch his or her drive, principle three is going to take action. They're going to move forward. They'll do anything to defend and support their drive. Now, principle 4 and 5 are where our drive comes from. Your drive is created by drama or trauma. Drama being a very high positive emotional state. So, graduating high school or college, getting married for the first time, seeing your first child born, winning that first election, anything that's super dramatic, super positive, creates this craving for more of that. Now, trauma is the opposite, a very negative, very exhausting, painful experience.
Yeah.
Divorce, bankruptcy, COVID. Like right now, I find this so ironic. I was what was called a director relator for 17 years. My family and I, we sold everything to go travel the world. We sold the house, the cars, the toys. We take off January 1 of 2020. We hit all the Caribbean islands. We go back to Florida to go to Paris on April 1st. March 27th, the world shuts down. So now I can't connect with people as a director related. I can't get my drive met. So during that traumatic experience, we kept thinking, oh, we'll be able to leave. So for 18 months, we lived in 7 different homes because we were just an Airbnb for 3 months. Like, okay, then we'll go to Paris. And so after that, like, you know what, we've given up on traveling. Let's just go back home. And yeah, let's just start over. But during that trauma, my drive changed from director relator to director executive. Now I want control. I want to be able to solve my problems because during COVID, I couldn't. So all my clients who I knew before COVID, I went back and interviewed them, and 80% of them had their drive changed during COVID, because that's worldwide, the reason why the mental health issue is where it's at. We don't know how to get our drive met because it's a brand new drive.
Woody, I got to tell you, the interesting thing is when I first did this, I think we were in it. I know it was before COVID, right?
It was in Destin, Florida. Yeah.
And I was looking back at, I was also a director relator. That was where
funny? I knew you were. Based off your languaging, based off what you were saying, you were a director relator. I could feel it in the way you were saying, well, I like to help people. I like to help people. I'm like, wait, I'm sitting there like, she used to be a director relator. That's the habit. So what happened is you had the same trauma that I had.
Yeah.
It shifted your drive to director executive. You still have that lingering relator inside of you.
Yeah, because, the other thing I recognize is I think over the years of being in sales and teaching sales and recruiting, I've also realized that I need to have, empathy, understanding, and knowledge around all these different styles of people in order to draw out what is important to them. And I think this is just such a fascinating, it's so different than all those, like, you're a parrot or a dolphin or whatever the hell, no offense, but
yeah, sure.
All that stuff to me is like, okay, but this really resonates because I feel like a couple things. I feel like what you said, I'm looking at these questions and it, like, at the end, it was totally obvious what you said,
it totally was. As you were, here's what I love about principle 3. You'll hear me talk about principle 3 all the time. Subconsciously or consciously, you'll do anything within your belief system to defend and support your drive. So the reason why I love to listen to people is you can't hide your drive from anybody. It's physically impossible. So the way we decorate, like I was looking at, you're a director executive. I've got Legos up here. I've got toys, trees, liberty, plants. I was looking at your background. It's the same way. You got plants everywhere.
Plants. I got all my creative art.
You talked about Mexico. You talked about where you live. You're a director, right? You can't hide from it. Like, it's physically impossible to hide from it, which is wonderful. So if people will master drive, and it takes no time at all to master it, all you got to do is pay attention and then serve people, love people, speak to them the way they want to be spoken to. Fortunately, this summer, our family and I were finally able to go to Europe. So we spent the summer in Europe, where we went to 9 or 10 different countries, and it reconfirmed to me the importance of drive. If you go to Spain or you go to Italy and you expect them to speak English, you're being selfish. Well, why don't they understand me? Well, because you're in their country. When you're presenting your message, your product, or your service to other people, and you're expecting them to like it the same way you like it, that is selfish.
Yeah.
So learn their drive, ask them the 3 questions, or in the book, they're in the card system, which you guys can all get hold of. Then you can have the best conversations. It's like having a translator with you, and you can have any communication you want to have.
Yeah. Well, and what I love also, I have to just say this about the book is I love that there's, actionable strategy in here. It's not just read it paragraph by paragraph, but you actually explain why each one of these is important, but then how to identify. And also on the cards, like you said, you can study these cards, I believe, really efficiently and quickly right before you were going to even get on a call, let's say, to some of these, right? I mean, they're right here. And if you even just laid them out and kind of even used them as obviously as a tool, but it's not, I'm on Zoom calls all day long. I was just, sharing with another group that I work with that I use a recruiting conversation tool. I said, the idea isn't to hide the tool. Like I wouldn't hide the tool. I would say, you know what? I'm just kind of understanding you a little more. And I'm looking here at, you seem to be really blah, blah, blah. Because what this also, I believe, helps the average salesperson do is really truly connect on such a deeper level that they're making more of that connection and building the relationship. And I mean, after all, people join people, not companies, right?
You're so spot on. It goes back, and this is the end of my training, which is so funny because we went through halfway the PowerPoint, which is okay because
Oh
I'm going to
geez,
get
you and I just can't.
no. This is perfect. This is perfect because I got to end here within a couple of minutes. Let me do one last
Yeah,
share.
please. Sorry, I was thinking the PowerPoint. Oh gosh. All right.
No. I believe this is exactly what we should have done. I believe wholeheartedly, and I'll show you why.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're right here on slide 65, and this thing goes all the way down,
There we
all
go.
this other training down to here. But this is where I'll end, and I'll show you why it's okay we did this.
Okay.
So the golden rule, do unto others the way you would want to be done unto you, is selfish. That means I'm going to treat you the way I want to be treated. I'm going to treat you based on my drive. False. The platinum rule, do unto others the way they would want to be done unto. That is how you want to
Oh,
communicate with other people at a higher level. And then in the end, if you guys want, I'll give you the drive book, the audio book, and the 25-minute training. The 25-minute training is what we missed. So it's perfect. I'll
jeez.
no, that's what I'm saying. It's totally
Wait,
perfect.
go
I
back
already
to
have
that.
it recorded.
Wait, go
So
back
it's
to that fortune cookie, the one where the one where you said they.
you have to
That
give me one
block.
second. I gotta go back and share. Okay,
Okay,
1 second.
sorry.
No, it's
She
perfect. No, perfect.
whoop. Joan just went right into all the questions.
Oh, Joan, it was perfect.
Okay, I like this. Okay,
Okay.
very good. All right, sorry, I'm going to
And
be
then if
quiet.
people want to reach out to me on Facebook, you can private message me at Meet Woody. But I'll give Joan the ebook, the audiobook, and the 25-minute training. Then she can email you guys or whatever group you guys are, in. You can put all the links in there, and then everybody can have access to it.
So amazing. Oh my gosh. Woody, I just want to thank you for being here on the show. And I want to thank you for all that you're giving. I mean, with 42 books to the world, and we didn't really get into your naughty boy 16 drop out of school mode, but one thing I will say that I so admire about you is you're obviously staying true to your drive and creating adventures and including your family. And I just love following you. For those of you that haven't had a chance to know Woody or follow him on Facebook. So much wisdom there and just a wealth of knowledge. And I want to thank you again for being so willing to come here, completely give your time to our group. We have, an incredible group of leaders here, almost 6,000 people in the group, and just want to thank you, Woody, for being here.
Well, it's honestly, it's my honor. The first time I met you, Joan, the highest respect to you and your team. One thing I will let everybody know, it is in January, February, I'll reach back to you, Joan, because we'll have a new website. The cards will be available. So right now there are no websites. There's no way to reach me other than Facebook. I don't have any other websites. I've torn everything down because we're rebuilding during the fourth quarter. But what I would love to do is make it available to you guys so that you can send emails and say, hey, discover your drive, click here. And I love what you said about don't hide it. Like every client I sit down with or potential client, I go through their drive and I say, here's my drive, here's your drive. It's a perfect level of understanding. It's not a bait and switch. It's not a manipulation. I want to know what drives you so that I can serve you better. And to me, that's the best part of all this.
Yep. I love it. I think it's so good. And I like the simplicity as well. So Woody, thank you so much again. We're definitely going to invite you back to maybe do more of the training and answer some more questions. I know we're coming right at time, but I want to thank you so much. And I want to wish you and your family a very happy holiday season, Merry Christmas, and all the things. So thanks so much, Woody.
Joan. Thank you.
All right, guys. And as you can see down there, Facebook at meetwoody.com. And I will see you all very soon.